everybody.
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the 50th.
Fireworks and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all kinds of great stuff. 50th podcast.
Yeah.
Can't believe this random idea we've had, we're somehow still... We actually stuck to something for once.
Yeah, and I think it's been since like August. We've been doing them every week.
Yeah.
We technically missed one because I lost the memory card, but it was
you
uploaded
recovered.
later in the week.
You recovered.
Yes. I didn't recover. My son recovered.
Yeah. So the 50th, this is our 50th. If anybody that hasn't been following on closely, or this is the first time you're listening or watching,
Yep.
We are just basically doing Q&A for this one. So we had people for the past month or more.
Just about, yeah.
Just sending us Q&A. We tried to screenshot. I apologize if we missed anybody. There's a lot of platforms that people comment.
And we got a lot of questions. Some of them were duplicates. Some of them were similar.
Kind of the same. Yeah.
Adjacent questions. And some of them were just things we've covered heavily in the past.
Right. So we'll get the normal stuff out of the way, just what's going on, updates. People seem to like that. Like, we talked about Moon. And so Moon is recovering. He has been very much difficult.
He's basically back to normal as a dog. He was running around like a nut this morning.
The next day, he is back to normal. But the problem we're having is Moon's tail bump that everybody was so concerned about. It has an open wound. They weren't able to stitch it shut. So it's been very difficult. Keeping a dog from licking an open wound is insanely difficult.
And wagging his tail.
Moon does not stop wagging his tail. So I've also run into where his wound has been closed up and we have no bandage on and we're just watching him. And then he whacks it against the doorway. And then all of a sudden it's blood everywhere and it's a murder scene.
Yeah,
so,
on top of being a hound, he's Great Dane, which is a very big Great Dane thing, is their tails are like weapons. They hit everything.
So Moon's been doing good. He's healing. He's actually, I think, next week, early next week, due to get his stitches out. But his tail is probably going to still take another week or two to be fully healed. So that's been difficult. Whenever I'm not home or Kate is not home, we have to wrap it up with a bandage. And painter's tape has been the combination we found.
And coned.
And coned, because we found out he can get to his wound with his cone on like the second day into this. So it's been stressful. Among everything else that's going on, I've been like super stressed out lately. Because
there's a lot of things going on.
At one time.
Yeah, these last couple of weeks.
So that's Moon update.
T-shirt pre-order. There's a week left. So this is coming out on Sunday. The pre-order closes on Friday or Saturday. I can't remember. I'll put it at the bottom here. But head to the website and pre-order the Parts Robot shirt. We had a bunch pre-orders already. So thank you to everyone that did. If not, get in now because there's a potential we won't print it for a while again. We will be printing extras for Carlisle to have on hand. And then whatever's left, like we did with the Ride With Us shirt, whatever's left, we'll go on the website in a couple months once we wait for shipping and all that stuff to go through to make sure people didn't order the wrong size and all that jazz. So
get lost in the mail.
Yeah. Surprisingly, the Ride With Us pre-order, we didn't have any. We had one person order the wrong size.
Oh, went smoothly.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if you order, our website works pretty well, but double check your size before you press place order. Just double check. Weird things happen. Someone ordered a small and they were like a 3XL. He's like, this will never fit me.
You got this little tiny shirt. Whoops. So yeah, we have the pre-order stuff's going on. So again, that's exciting. I'm really psyched on that shirt. We're gonna. It's neat because it's an old school, like, it almost looks like an old school mechanic shirt or something. Yeah. The old dealership T-shirts.
Oh yeah, if you don't know, we're offering them with pockets.
I'm psyched on the pockets.
Yeah.
I'm gonna totally use the hell out of those pockets.
Yeah. Order 10 more for Matt with pockets.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Keep my reading glasses.
Yeah.
So that's going on. We're coming into the spring. We have a crap ton of traveling coming up. We've been kind of holding off.
Yeah, last year we kind of behaved ourselves, and now this year I think it's going to be tenfold of what it's been before.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-22 because we put off a lot of people last year just because we were so busy with the other building and everything going on and playing catch up that we pushing a lot of stuff off. So now, starting next week, we're going on
starting Wednesday. This comes out Sunday. Wednesday, we're flying.
We're starting a really crazy one. So if you guys are like those types of videos where we do the picking and stuff like that, we have a pretty wild one where we're going to be doing. So that will come out shortly after.
Yeah,
it'll
I'm not
come out.
sure when. We have to figure out the scheduling of all that, but somewhere around that.
Depends how crazy it is.
And we'll be doing a like we kind of did with our last week in the life of when we went and picked up those cars in the Midwest. We'll be doing some like vlog style stuff on our travels, on our trip home. We did look where we're going is kind of not in the middle of nowhere, but it's a smaller Midwestern town, central U.S. town. There is at least 2 Mexican restaurants.
Yes.
That was like the first thing I looked at. I was like,
Yes.
I wonder. So there'll be some Mexican food reviews. And it's a fairly multiple day trip home. So I'm sure there'll be Mexican along the way. There's multiple of us going. There's four of us.
Total, yeah.
There's
And one viewer is coming. Crazy enough, we have a long-time viewer that is making a drive. He offered his help, and
Yeah, he doesn't live too far from there, I don't think. It's a couple hours, 2 hours, I think.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's far enough. It's like 6-7 hours
That's
round
true.
trip. It's pretty crazy to me
Yeah,
that he's doing
and
that.
so it's going to be, I think,
One of the larger ones.
one of the larger ones.
So
We're bringing 2 box trucks home. I'll just leave it at that. So
2 26-footers is what's currently reserved, and I don't think we're going to get it all in there.
yeah, I don't think we're going to bring any more. That's a lot to drive with solo,
Yeah.
25 plus hours.
Yeah, so it's gonna be fun. We have that. We've talked about some other ones that we have potentially planned, and then we have a bunch of smaller ones that are kind of like lingering for us to just hit as we get time.
And there's always
Spring
an
Carlisle.
influx of local ones too.
Yeah.
We're going to look at one. We're filming this on Thursday. We're going tomorrow morning to look at one that's
20
not
minutes.
far.
Yeah, 20 minutes away. So we're staying plenty busy. We have a lot of crazy.
Oh yeah, I got to price everything for Carlisle too.
Yeah.
Good.
We have a
Lord.
lot of crazy stuff that is been in the works or progress that we cannot talk about. We've
Yeah.
been trying to keep our lips sealed. So this one we're doing next week, our local friends, we've been talking
Yeah.
about it, but we haven't talked about it a lot on the channel just because some of the surprise is kind of neat when we go to these different places. It's fun to just like everybody can watch these videos.
Yeah.
With no information. I think that's the most fun when we just like put it out and you've never seen it. So it's
Breaking news.
yeah, typewriters.
Yeah.
So that's going on, and
Well, I'll talk about Spring Carlisle.
oh yeah,
Yeah, we're in the same spot we've been the last couple of years. The end of row K, K1, 2, and 3.
by gate 1.
By gate 1, right next to the food stand. Depending on how this place we're going next week is, we may have additional spaces that we will talk about in the future. We're talking about potentially bringing some stuff on a trailer to sell or car corral. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to sell. So there'll be additional spaces all over.
Yeah, we may use some.
Potentially.
We don't know. We may be additional spaces. We may just run out of energy and not do that. We don't
Yeah,
know.
with this estate, it leaves me 2 weeks to price everything for Carlisle.
Yeah, we might be. I wish we could just rent the box truck for like additional time. Just drive the box truck to Carlisle and just open the door and be like, "Have at it, boys."
Yeah, figure it out. Let me know what you want, and I'll give you a
Make
price.
a pile, and I mean, honestly, you'd probably do really well with that. But so, anyways, that's
Come see us.
Carlisle. Definitely should be fun.
Yep. We're not doing Charlotte this year.
No, unfortunately.
Charlotte's coming up later this week. Unfortunately, with this estate, we had to bail on Charlotte. I know there's a bunch of people that were asking if we're going to be there. We just too many things to juggle and not enough time.
Yeah, so and I've been trying to button up the last handful of things on the Mercury.
Yeah.
I got the nose all shaved and the bumper pushed in this week.
Steve got my car all wired.
Steve got your car wired and it's running again.
Yeah.
And Mike's on the home stretch with his car.
Shocks are like the last kind of
Shocks, tuning,
Yeah,
little loose ends.
The loose ends, there's a bunch of loose ends, but shocks are like the big like
Yeah.
fabrication project.
Mm-hmm. And I'm working on the hood latch. Actually, I was in the middle of it when we stopped to record this, but I'm getting the remote hood latch set up for the Mercury, which looking like it's going to work out pretty
Yep.
nice. So once that's done, I'm basically going to start sending patterns for glass and working on polishing the window frames and just trying to get it so that it moves. I'm kind of just going to pull the plug once we get the glass and interior. And whatever's done at that point, I'm just going to start driving it. So maybe I get the body work done. Who knows? Maybe I might drive it with the bare metal patches for now. I just want to drive it.
Do
So
we break in the Columbia yet, or do we have to do that?
We have to do that too. Yep. Gotta run it and shift it and get it all working. So there's still a lot to do and a lot going on, and things get busier every day. So, but my goal is this summer to drive that car, actually drive it. The custom car revival, I don't know with how crazy things are. Very unlikely I'm going to be able to drive it there, or the car's going to be done. So I may have to trailer it and just cruise it around just to get it there because I've committed. Just stuff's kind of crazy, and my time to work on the car is already in the past couple of weeks. I've been like, I get to work on like an hour or two a day between juggling phone calls and everything else going on. So
I wanted to mention, we've been getting a lot of feedback on the podcast on YouTube. When we upload the audio only, there's no video. It's just audio only. Matt and I are talking. This is being filmed right now. We typically do 2 cameras and do like cut between shots. To do that for an audio only, it's a lot of editing on my end, hours of editing. So if you enjoy this view, we're going to do this for the audio only and just put it up. There'll probably be no additional stuff added, just a video of us talking. So if you think we're ugly, you might not like that. If you're tired of looking at us, you might not like it. But we're going to test it and see how they do.
Yeah, it's just something some people, we had some comments that people were like, they'd rather look at us talking in the background and whatever than just a blank screen with our logo. So we do listen to the comments. Yeah. We do try that. So that's what we're trying here. Yeah. So
there probably won't be this one, since we're doing the Q&A, there might be some stuff edited on top, but there won't be a lot of.
Yeah, not as much as others.
Yeah, like other videos where we talk about trips. There's a lot of B-roll. This one, I'll try and add some stuff here and there.
So you get to see me yawning and us coughing and doing whatever off the
picking our nose.
Whatever. So we're gonna get into the questions for the 50th. So
Steve will also be making an appearance. We have some Steve related questions.
He may or may not. We'll see what happens. He may be busy. I don't know.
He's on the lift right now doing a bunch of work. So
so the first one is, I might even try and use the usernames Porchestra.
I'll have you send these all to me so I can
drop them in there. So on YouTube, asked as a longtime subscriber, my question would be, how long have you been friends and what was your inspiration to start a YouTube channel? So some of this stuff we've covered.
The last podcast we covered it a little bit.
So we've known each other for not as long as people think. We're not childhood friends.
No, probably. I'm trying to think. I've been out of high school 15, so probably 12 years. Mm-hmm. So I used to work with one of Matt's roommates. Mm-hmm. Really, really good friend, almost childhood friend. You know Yorma for.
Well, he's younger than I am, but I've known Yorma since he was a child.
Yeah.
I was probably a teenager, but he was a child, a legitimate child. But he was a long time. One of our good friends that he was my roommate for a long time, 10, 12 years.
Multiple places.
Yeah, multiple places. Our buddy Yorma, he was my roommate, and we had a lot of fun together. And has his own place and is married now. Yeah. And anyways, but go ahead.
Yeah, I used to work with Yorma, and just from working together and talking, he's like, "You gotta meet my buddy Matt." And just I came over one day, and I don't even remember why I came over.
I think I first met you at the Swamp Pike pub down the street from our old house.
Oh yeah,
you used to come there and hang out, and then we were there like every freaking multiple times a week. So we met. My first memory of meeting you was there, just like, hey, it's my buddy, blah blah blah, and then from there we,
I helped Matt like move stuff, helped him set up at swap meets when you used to do the antique furniture business. Just he'd be like, "Hey, what are you doing? I need a hand." I'm like, "All right, I'll be right over." I was single, nothing going on, just always down to help.
So I've known you definitely. I met you a little bit before you met your wife, Karen.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because I remember when you met Karen, you first started hanging out with her.
Yep. I think, were you at Adams that night when so you met her the first day that I met her in person?
And you had like a apartment warming party or something.
No, it was a UFC fight.
Oh, is that what it was?
Did you bring Casey?
Yeah, it was a girl I used to date and then was friends with later on. And yes, and I think you had just started.
I don't even know if I was with Karen yet.
Oh, wow. That was pretty
I rented a UFC fight and had a bunch of friends over, and we had pizza and just hung out and watched a UFC fight.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Yorma was with. I remember that. So he and I pretty much traveled together.
Yeah, for a while.
Any type of event, we were always. Yeah.
And there was a time I rented a garage local. Matt had. This has not changed in years.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, there was one of Matt's cars was in my rental garage for a while.
A couple different cars.
Really?
I stored my convertible there for the winter one time, I
Oh,
think.
that's right.
And then I stored that European Audi there,
Yeah.
project car for a
Yep.
while. But I did store my nice convertible
forgot about
for a
that,
winter
yeah.
there for a while. So yeah,
I've been storing Matt's cars for like a decade.
I've been taking advantage of Mike for a long
No,
time.
the space was available. It's all good. But we've known each other a long time.
So, and then the other half of it was, what was your inspiration to start a YouTube channel? We did talk about that in a previous one. The inspiration was kind of out of frustration with, mainly for me, was because at Eastwood things were not going how I liked, and I needed a creative outlet. Mike was already doing YouTube, and he urged me, but kind of the inspiration was I bought this property and suddenly had this huge kick-ass garage.
Yeah, I was here the day that he made settlement.
Yeah.
My wife and I actually brought Chinese over.
Chinese food and my little folding card table,
Where
and I had no.
Did we eat in the dining room?
Yeah, we had. No, we ate in the kitchen. I think I had no. Maybe it was dining room. I think it was the kitchen. I had no furniture because I literally had just signed the papers, and
dropped 2 cars off.
Yeah, first thing I did. Most people were like, "Go have family with a dinner and high five." I was like, "I got to go home and get some of these cars moved over." So I towed some cars over immediately.
Yeah.
They came over and graciously brought. They also brought me champagne, I think, and I never drank it.
Karen, my wife's like that. Like, brings stuff to parties. She like brought it. I'm like, Matt doesn't drink.
I didn't drink it. I think Kate might have drank it
She
eventually.
probably did, yeah.
But I remember it was in the closet for a while, and I was like, "Oh,
Are the cups still in your cabinet?" We had to bring like silverware and cups because Matt didn't. Obviously, there was nothing here. We like ran to Walmart and got like cups and disposable utensils and all kinds of stuff.
And to be fair, I had stuff. It was just
at the other house.
My house I was renting, I hadn't moved anything yet. Everything was packed up, and it was like waiting. So, yeah, that was the.
But I remember coming in and seeing the garage, just with there was like 3 Edison light bulbs hanging in it. I was just like, dude, we have to start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And then because you bought the house in October, November.
Yeah, I think it was October is when I moved in.
I did all the electrical work to convert it to what it is now, basically. Ran a new service and put lights in. And then we started the channel in like February.
Yep.
It was like once the garage was set up to be working in, it was well lit. It was just like, let's go. Start it.
I remember the first month after I bought the place, and then I gave myself a month of living at my old house because I was renting. To pay rent there and live there, and then I could do the stuff here because I had to do a bunch of my house, like strip all the wallpaper and paint. And Kate's father and one of his friends was gracious enough to give me a hand with that. But then at the same time, I was juggling getting heat in the garage.
Yep.
Mike was helping with wiring because I knew winter was coming quick, and I was like, I need to work in the shop. And obviously, I was more excited about the shop than I was the house.
Oh, always.
A typical car guy. So I was like, that actually kind of took priority, but it was like, I know I got to do wallpaper and, clean the carpets and do whatever. But it worked out great. And so that was the inspiration. I've also talked about it. Watching, Piero doing the Mad Fabricators thing also gave me a taste of doing something different than just the normal what I was doing at Eastwood. So all of that together combined with some other YouTube channels that we're starting.
Yeah.
We created what this is, and it's ever evolving.
Yeah.
So we're inspired by a lot of different content creators.
What is it? It's 8 years now. 2017 is when we started. So it's 8 years.
Been a while.
Yeah, long time.
Things have spiraled out of control very quickly.
Spiraled out of control many different times.
It's like the way I think about it is like when you're a kid and you go to the beach or the shore, depending on where you're from, you go to the shore.
Yeah.
Going down to the shore, and you're like body surfing or boogie boarding, and a wave catches you and rolls you over, and then you get up like to catch your breath, and then the wave knocks you over again, and you're underwater. That's how my life has felt since we started the YouTube channel.
Welcome to IronTrap. It's just a revolving circle of that.
Yeah, it's just like as soon as and it's all good stuff, but it always feels like
it's chaos.
It's chaos all the time. As soon as it's self-created. I'm terrible at it.
Both of us, it's self-created.
Yeah. So as soon as like, oh man, we almost got that done, or the light at the end of the tunnel, it's like, oh, let's jump into this ridiculousness. So like the new building, it's like we're actually almost done all the work, and then we're just jumping into like all these other things that's happening with buying stuff and whatever else. It's like, oh my God, we're not even like
we took one breath, and it's like,
Okay.
Yep, time to go again.
Yeah, time to go in. So that's been kind of crazy. James Suarez, I believe is the correct way, 516. Of all the car brands, why did you choose Ford? That seems like a kind of, I guess I would say, obvious
Yeah.
choice. I liked old school hot rods and customs. And since the beginning of hot rodding and customs, Ford has pretty much always been it. So it's kind of like history already had that set in place. Like when you're looking at old hot rods and customs, a 32 Ford or a 34 Ford,
Even
or
a Model A.
Model A, like all that stuff was what everybody was using to build hot rods since hot rodding began. So it's kind of like, yes, there's other brands of cars, but the focus of era of cars I like have pretty much always been that. My father was kind of traditionally a Ford guy, but he was never into the early stuff. I really just solely base it on the same idea as what was happening with kids in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I started using the internet and they weren't using the internet, obviously. They didn't have that, except if you were traveling back in time. But I was reading magazines and I was researching and all the photos, and we talk about it in the channel a lot. Like people ask us like, what should I build? Or how, like, I just started looking at what cars I liked and the styles, and I'm like, I like Model A coupes, I like Model A roadsters, I like this, that. And all of that from here forward, I just look at different cars and I'm inspired. And I go, oh, I like that kind of car. What is it? Oh, it's a 32 Roadster. Oh, it's a this, it's a that. And now I'm pretty much in deep. But we also like other types of cars. It's just what we're building. That's just what it is. So.
And nowadays, just because the Fords have been so popular, they're the easiest to get parts for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the time we have people come, give us a call or come by a booth at the swap meets. They're like, I'm looking for like 35 Dodge or 35 Mopar parts. I can't find them anywhere. I was like, well, if it was Ford, I'd be able to find you parts, but it's like every week we get calls of this like not as popular stuff, and like I can't find parts anywhere
because people have been saving the Ford stuff since the beginning of time because it was the most popular.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a time-honored tradition.
Yeah, if you look at any of the old magazines, it's always
99%.
99% of every car featured or talked about is a Ford. Until you get to the customs, and then it changes a little bit.
Once you got into the 50s, then GM kind of, I think, came into their own in the 50s. And then the GM started, honestly, becoming cooler.
Yeah.
So once you get into the...
Even if you get to like 3940 Chevys, like 3940 Chevys are real popular.
Yeah, they're pretty popular. But I think it's not until the 50s GM came into their own as far as popularity.
Yeah.
And I kind of flip-flop. So once you get past 50, 51, I go like, I pretty much all the stuff I like is GMs.
Almost 49 actually, because once it hits shoeboxes aren't as...
I'm lukewarm on them. I mean, I like shoeboxes, but I just as much would like to have a 50 to 52 Chevy.
Or CAD.
Yeah.
49 CAD.
Definitely. Cadillac from, 49 on,
Yeah.
or 40s even, is really good. But yeah, when you get into the mid to late 50s, especially like 58, 59, 60, GMs are beautiful. I think they were killing it with design, and I all that stuff I think I like it a little better. So I've always talked about that. If I got a car like that, it would be a GM from that era.
And the market dictates it too.
Yeah.
You could see that era of GMs are like
way higher.
Some of the most expensive GMs are in that little bubble.
Yeah.
Because they're the best looking.
Yeah, that's it. So good question. So Jeremy Jameson, 3106. How involved or supportive are the wives of all three of you? Do they go to shows, help out in any way? Mike, I know you have young kids, so that's a thing. But do you guys ever catch hell for doing your thing?
I always catch hell. Both of us are working like 24/7. The phone, email, messages literally never stop.
So it's not necessarily like what Mike's referencing. I'm going to defend your wife a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the car thing.
Yeah.
It's that both of us we're like workaholics, or we're totally obsessed with this. So it's anything, and I find myself doing it too. It's like it's just we're so involved in it. It wouldn't matter if you were you were running a construction company. It's the same type of...
I mean, it was like that for me when I worked at the factory. People would just call me with questions. I'd be like, yeah, I can. What are
Yeah.
you trying to figure out? I'll help you.
In the middle of bowling and you're
She's
taking a
like,
photo.
dude, it's your dad. What are you talking to them for?
Yeah.
I'm like, they have a question about a problem. I'm trying to help them.
Yep. So as far as like catching hell, no. I always joke. Kate met me. Kate and I have known each other a long time, even before we dated for quite a while. So when we were just friends and hanging out, like 5-7 years before we actually started like seriously dating, she used to watch my Great Danes when I would travel riding BMX. I would just go on road trips for fun, and she, like, my old house had, like, I had a coffee table that was like rims with a piece of glass on them. Like, my house was always, when I was a bachelor or like totally single, it was like my house was just filled with car parts.
And they weren't just like normal wheels. They were a good set of split wheels, right?
Yeah, it was rare, expensive wheels on my coffee table. So she's not really phased by it. Kate's thing, and we get a lot of questions about Kate appreciates what we do, and she has an appreciation for it, and she doesn't have a problem with it. She's just not this, and I guess your wife's probably the same way.
Yeah.
They're not the significant others that are like going to every show, not going to the junkyard to dig parts out. Kate loves going to flea markets and like vintage and
my
old
wife does
things.
as well.
Yeah, so like, Kate and I go to a lot of the local flea markets and stuff like that. But she likes Hershey, but she's not as into it. Where like Hershey, we're walking for multiple days. Like she can go for one day, walk the swap meet, find some couple little things, and she's good to go. But like, the insane part that we're into is a little crazier. So we don't. And Steve's wife's been in the car. Like, I know, I can just speak for Steve. I know that Steve's wife's family has been car people for forever. So his wife is definitely into it. Goes to car events with him.
She has her own car. The Monte Carlo is technically hers.
Yeah. So like, I would say out of the three of us, Steve's wife's probably the most like into it.
Yeah.
As far as that type of
and
stuff.
both of our significant others came from not car backgrounds.
Yes.
Like my wife's family, they're not really car people. So
Kate's family
she understands it, and she's, they're both supportive. It's just not their thing, really.
They're the significant others that, like, if we're at a multi-day event, like Carlisle or Hershey or Wheels of Time in Macungie, they will come for like an afternoon and hang out and chat. But like 3 days of sitting in a lawn chair talking to people, and I can appreciate that. They don't want to do it. So we don't catch hell. I mean, at this point, I always joke with people like, how could Kate or your wife or anyone be mad at you, because it's what actually pays the bills, keeps the lights on, allows us to do everything we do. Now your wife has a good job, and all equally helps with, like, on my side, Kate runs her own salon, but really I take care of the majority of the overhead is covered by me. So if she got mad at me for doing car stuff, that's kind of
the only thing I ever catch hell for is just traveling, because sometimes we do longer trips. It's with two kids, it can be a little tough. So it's all understandable. I don't ever like, whatever. It's like
Kate gets mad when we go cool places that she would have liked to go with, but she doesn't want to do the whole trip. She's like, I just want to go to California and you guys go to Grand National. I want to go to Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, well, that's not how this works. I'm not paying for a free Disney trip for you. So that's always a little bit of a struggle. So Steve Monkey 66666 whatever, 4 or 5 sixes. I don't have my glasses on. My question would be, at the rate you are going to have very many hot rods of various types built. Do you plan to sell them, or do you plan to display them somewhere, or do you plan just to get a bigger building to park them in? All of the above.
I was literally just going to say that's about all of the above.
All of the above. So I've been going through a lot of, like, soul searching, if you want to get deep.
That's a good way to put that.
Not even soul searching. I've just been trying to reason with myself. Actually, lately, this is a very relevant question. So I've been struggling a little bit. We've been in a nice scenario where the business makes us enough money with the day-to-day selling of just average parts and the YouTube channel and everything we have going on, that, like, a lot of these, like, neat cars or project cars, we don't need to sell to make payroll, so to speak. So I have a bad habit of keeping a lot of the good stuff around, and it's not really for sale. but recently I've been like kind of thinking, I'm like, I haven't started like my Model A Coupe, the Pagoda City Coupe. I've been like, I haven't even, other than starting it to move it around in the building, I haven't driven in like 2 years. And it's like, well, why am I keeping this car? If I was really that attached or loved the car, I would at least once or twice a summer take it out
Yeah.
and cruise it. And I don't find myself doing that. So I've been trying to be like, maybe it's just that my quality of stuff has gone up and I'm just holding on to it because it was the one I first built. But I'm building so many cars, it's kind of like, why hold on to every one? So I've been trying to think about like, what are the cars that I couldn't replace or, are really, really special or have an insane amount of time. So the Free T, even though I don't ever drive it and I need to go back through it and make it more drivable, I have an insane amount of hours in that car. And no matter what dollar amount I sold it for, I wouldn't get it back. The Model A Coupe, I have a lot of time into it, but not the same amount of time. And in the end of the day, not to take away from that car, it's just a channeled Model A Coupe with a hopped up flat. There's no like super rare aspect of it that I couldn't recreate it. And it is special to me, but even when I was pricing it, I'm like, it's still just a Model A Coupe.
Also, if you don't follow our Instagram or Facebook, Saturday, I think
Yeah.
it was, we put some projects and some 3 finished cars up for sale just as a feeler post to try and clear some mental space.
Physical, mental, and cash
Yes.
space. We're trying to get, all of that stuff above. But I've just been looking around and I'm kind of like, we all the time get questions from people about, will you sell this car? Will you sell that? And I'm kind of a jerk about it sometimes. I'm like, nope, not for sale. Is this a for sale post? And then I'm like, sometimes the person that's serious is the person that asked you when you wasn't really for sale and I should have sold it. So I kind of just put a bunch of cars up so that if anyone had been interested in any of these cars over the handful of years, now's your chance to show interest. I wasn't hoping to sell everything in that post. It's just if we sold 1 or 2 or 3 of those things, it freed up some space, cash, mental, capacity.
It didn't free up any mental capacity on Saturday and Sunday because our phones, where it was just like,
oh my God,
constant, it's a good thing, but it's like, oh my God, look at it. You go and open up the Messenger app and it's just like, just a list of questions. It's like, oh my God.
So some of the cars, for instance, I just need to get out of my system. So that Roadster pickup we bought and we put together, that was a good example. People were like, I can't believe you sold it. You only drove it for like a summer or 2 or whatever. And it's like, well, I just wanted to build a like Dry Lakes kind of era jalopy Roadster pickup. I built it. I drove for a little while. I had my fun. Some of it is just getting it out of my system of building the car and creating it. Much like you're a painter or you do pottery or whatever, you have this idea, you want to do it. And once it's done, it's like, well, I don't want to make 3 of that exact car. I want to do all these different, things. So some of the cars I put up, like the 38 convertible I put up kind of half-heartedly. I would like to finish that car, but in the same breath, I have other cars, and I started thinking about it's like the 39 Mercury. That's not a car I would sell. I have 1 million hours into that car. It's very much, it's all created from scratch from myself. So it's like, I don't think I'd want to sell that. Again, for me to recreate that car, I don't think I'd ever want to do it.
Yeah.
So that was the thought process. So there's a little bit of keeping. I think I need to hand select the cars that I don't think I could ever replace or currently I'm infatuated with. So the 32, the one we call the DeLorean Roadster, that one because of the crazy story of finding it, the history. For me, it's like the ideal car as far as the 32 Roadster goes. So that one I couldn't see. The 34 sedan delivery, due to rarity, I don't think I could find a better example.
Did you see we get an email about another sedan delivery?
In pieces.
Yeah, it's in pieces. I was like, look at that, another one.
I don't want to get involved in that. So, so some of the cars we're keeping, it's, the 32 5-window, the Schroll Coupe. It is a special car, but it is not like a cover car. It's not, I got it back on the road. I've driven it. I've enjoyed it. I don't know what else I would do with that car to make it better other than maybe some mechanical changes from what it was. So it's kind of like, well, if I sell it, it's a bummer, but
yeah.
There's a lot of, just since I've had that car, multiple 32 5-window East Coast style cars have popped up. One of our friends bought one that was, a very similar car, just like white.
Yeah.
Recently. It's like, so yeah. So anyways, I'm going to be keeping some cars that are, special to me, but I used to say I'll never sell that. I don't say that anymore because we've been finding stuff at such velocity. I can't say that. I might find a sedan delivery that was Iski's shop truck.
Or a local business to us shop truck with the lettering still on it and all that stuff.
You never know that there's going to be that one that's going to one up.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't say that. So eventually we're not independently wealthy, so I do need to sell stuff to keep the lights on eventually, or for us to continue buying and
expanding. There's some expansion stuff that we're working on in the nearest future. So we're being realistic on our needs and what. Obviously, we know that our building that we build is not big enough. So
yeah, and a lot of it is there gets to be a point where like, what do I enjoy? What do I want to become, or what do we want to do? So like, do we want to be crazy collectors and have a museum someday? Okay, well then I probably wouldn't want to sell anything, and we just want to curate the best stuff we can. But when we have so much inventory of project cars and cars that we can't, we're not gonna have money to continue to buy future estates and continue doing what we're doing. And a big part of what I enjoy about our business and the hobby is the thrill of the chase and the hunt. So like, if I just continue to keep, eventually there's going to be no income to buy additional stuff. So there's a fight.
Fine balance.
Yeah, there's a balance with that. So that recently has come to a head where I'm like, I have so much, and it's getting to be to the point where I'm like, I also have duplicates. So even I'm going to probably be listing some parts. I listed a McCullough supercharger last night randomly because it was like, I have two. I don't need two. One on the shelf to have for the right car is cool. I don't need two. Why not offer it to somebody else and they can use it?
And the two that we found were found, within a couple years of each other.
Yeah.
So it's like, in another 2 years, are we going to find another one?
I've sure we'll. Four. I mean, I've had 4 or 5 since I've been hunting this stuff. So like, for whatever reason, I've been able to find them. So for me to keep multiples is stupid. Like I could see keeping one of something in case I need it for a car.
And at the end of the day, the McCullers are rare, but they're not like...
They're out there.
Yeah, they're around. It's not like like if you had a spare set of those Federal Mogul heads. Yeah. That's not something you would sell because they are like one of the hardest sets of heads to find.
And what I've been also doing is I have multiples where there's one on a car driving, but I keep a spare one on the shelf because if I ever sell that car or something happens and that gets broken or damaged, I have another one. So that's the way I've been doing it. But like, if I have multiples to the multiples,
Kong distributors,
there's going to be selling a couple of them because somehow we've ended up with like 5 of them. I don't know how they found me, and here we are. So that's the answer to that. So I'm going to be curating. I found myself in the last 2 or 3 years heavily curating my stuff. So I've been trying, like the 39 Mad Scientist coupe. Yeah. I really wanted a 39 Deluxe coupe, but after I got it on the road, we had the conversation. I'm like, the color is cool, but it's not the color I would want. So I really should, when a buyer came forward that wanted to buy it, it's like, well, this isn't the one for me. I'll know it when it's the one, and that wasn't the one. So I passed it on, and we got the fun of finding it, putting it on the road, drove it for a little while, and the person who we sold the stuff to is the right person. That car is like in the center of their collection, and they're using it way more than I am. So trying to not become like the people that we sometimes buy from, that 100%. There's a lot of stuff that never gets used. We still want to keep it in circulation, but I also like to keep the stuff because I enjoy having it around. So it's a balance. Bruce Horner 936. What about mail call and wife okay? We get these questions a lot, so I've covered it a bunch. Kate has her own life. She has her own job. She has her own career. Unlike some YouTubers that they insist on having their significant others in their social media life, Kate's on social media, but she's not a super public person. So during COVID, she is a hairstylist. Salons were shut down. Kate was bored out of her mind, and she had nothing better to do than come and open mail call with me. And it became popular, but in the same breath, she doesn't enjoy doing the camera thing. She will do it, but she's not active. So because she's not in the videos doesn't mean that she's not okay. Like, it's just, and the mail call.
It was just turned into people sending us like their junk drawer. They just like tipped the drawer over into a box, and then people sending us stuff for free promotion, hoping we'd open it and give them a shout out, and it would get them more business. It just turned into there was literally just piles of boxes of shit everywhere.
And it was, some people became a little selfish about it, and they were like getting mad at us because they sent us something and we didn't open it in a timely manner, or they kind of forced something upon us and got offended because we weren't as excited about the item as they were. And we do appreciate all that, but you have to realize at the end of the day that, because you sent me this thing and I know you may have put a lot of effort into it or whatever, we were getting 17 other people sending similar things. And I mean, I literally have stuff over here that people sent us fan art, and I feel bad throwing it in the trash, but like there's a pile of it in the shop, there's a pile of it in the warehouse. What do we do with it? And like I do appreciate it, and I feel bad about it, but it got to the point where we're like, you know what, let's just cut that off, because it was becoming a distraction, and it was becoming a thing where like a lot of people also didn't like those videos. So we kind of were watching the comments as like we were probably getting more people that were commenting that they didn't really enjoy that to people that did. So we just kind of phased it out. We've been doing it a little bit in our Week in the Life of videos, but it's not mail call. It's us buying stuff. Like, we get packages of stuff that we bought on the internet. So it's more of like a mail call of stuff that we bought versus what people send us. So, Martin Linning 5022. I have a question for Matt. What is your favorite year for Volkswagen Beetles, and why is it 1962? So 62 isn't necessarily my favorite year. I did see that comment and giggled. I was like, I hope it is 62 because that would be fun. I don't know if I have a favorite year. I would say. Are they different through the years? Oh yeah, very, very different. They all look the same. What are you talking about? No, you can get super geeky about it. So I will say, like everyone, I'll say it this way. So if you don't know Volkswagens, much like early Fords or American cars, there's always going to be those years or body styles that are very valuable and very sought after. Split window Corvette, 32 Ford, 57 Chevy, like all that stuff. So for Volkswagens, especially Beetles, it's split and oval windows. So the early Beetles, the quickest way to describe it is the rear window either had a split window like a 40 Ford or an early Ford would have, or they had the oval window. Those ones are always kind of been my favorite. And which one's oval? Split and oval, both of them. They're early cars. Split windows are awesome. I probably would pick that one. But any of the early Beetles are way cooler. It's just always, anything early is always cool in any type of car, I feel like. So that era is probably my favorite. I also like the really early. I've never had one. I've always liked it. We saw it at the picnic, at the Ted's picnic last year. There's what they call a low light Ghia. Oh yeah. So a very early Carmen Ghia. Gotta watch Matt like actually nerd out on a Volkswagen. Like, oh my god, look at this. Yeah. So at this little picnic, antique car picnic we do that we show in our videos sometimes every summer, stuff comes out of the woodwork. So a guy lives in my town, never saw the car before, shows up with a barn find. I guess he's had it for years. Some of my buddies knew the guy. I just had never seen it. It's a barn find low light Ghia that was like, just like we do. He just made it run and drive, but it had the patina and the old stickers. It was super cool. Love the car. I was tempted to put my business card on to see if it was for sale. I texted a friend who runs in that circle. He goes, it's not for sale. Everybody tries to buy that thing from him. I'm like, you know what? So I just nerd out on it. So, and then of course, split window VW buses. Amazing. They're super cool. So any of the like earlier stuff is really, really cool. But yeah, I don't have a specific year I could say. Never got into the Super Beetles. That era kind of gets a little. What would you say is your favorite year water cooled? Would it be the Swallowtail? Yeah, so for water cooled Volkswagens, which I got really into, 75, 76, 75 to 78 is my favorite, but 75, 76 was the early Volkswagen Scirocco's. They were super cool colors. They were all German import cars. So all of them had funky interiors, cool colors. They just really, really neat. And again, you can nerd out on those super 1 year only, half a year only details and options, and I love them. That's what the one I got back is a what they call a swallowtail. It's a rear end for like 3/4 of a year had the special back end or whatever. So
I do know a little bit of Volkswagen stuff.
Yeah, a little
I've
nerdiness.
absorbed over the years of listening to him, Mac on long tirades.
So this one, Paul Arson or Paul Larson, I don't know. Anyways, do you sell any of your cars to other car guys? So we just covered that. Yes, we do sell them. We actually sell cars quite often. Just a lot of our stuff sells privately. We don't actively put up for sale. The right person will come along that is kind of perfect fit as far as someone that understands the value. They want the car to, do something with it and drive it. And we just, a lot of who we sell a car to and what we sell it for is if we like the type of person.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes we sell cars and it is what it is. We're trying to make it leave. But a lot of these cars, it's like you're finding the right person to own the car. So that 39 we referenced earlier, the guy that bought it had been looking for a 39 or 40 coupe with age to it. It was like perfect, perfect
Beautiful,
fit.
the Roadster pickup.
Yep.
A lot of those more finished cars, usually the buyer finds us.
Yeah.
It's less of us putting it up for sale publicly.
And we usually try and price the stuff so that it's priced correctly.
Yeah.
You're not giving it away, but we're also not putting an insane Hershey price on it usually. And what we're selling the car for, you couldn't find and put the car on the road for what we usually 100%. Sell them for. So, Chuck Coker on Facebook, he said, first, thank you. Just watched blah blah blah. He said, I'm the guy that sent you the lead/ad for the McCullough blower and the heads.
Oh, right.
So thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that lead. It turned into something.
Yeah.
He said it was the site was Wisconsin Hot Rod Radio, which is a super random website.
Yeah.
They have a classified sections. Sometimes a guy wonders whatever happens to a lead you share. You brought it up in previous shows, but never went into much detail. So he's, I'm happy it worked out for you, blah, blah, blah. So thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Questions. It seems like you exclusively TIG weld everything. Honestly, can only remember you MIG welding one thing, and that could have been a tack to hold it together for TIG welding. Do you prefer TIG welding because of the heat? Is the weld softer, more malleable? So, yeah, I've covered this a little bit. So, not to get, again, too nerdy and go into TIG welding and metallurgy, but really the quickest answer is once you learn how to TIG weld, it is no sparks. It's very quick and easy in and out kind of deal. You can weld something quickly, and once you get proficient, there's less grinding, less sparks, less mess, less things to go wrong. One thing I hate about MIG welding, I feel like every freaking time I use my MIG welder, I'm either out of wire, out of gas.
Which I just ran into the other day.
The liner is messed up in the MIG torch and it's not feeding correctly. You're burning to the tips. The tip is worn out. There's like just so many more things.
The cover's messed up and doesn't stay on.
So there's more consumables that go bad, and it's just the sparks and everything. I love TIG welding. I can just like quick tack something and there's no sparks. It's just not as violent.
Yeah, definitely.
But when it comes to sheet metal working, yes, the weld is more malleable. Gas welding and TIG welding, the science side of it, the weld becomes more malleable was a good term to use. So you can hammer and dolly the weld and smash it into itself like the original metal, unlike a MIG weld, which actually ends up being harder than the metal around it. So if you try and hammer and dolly and smash a MIG weld, it will stretch the metal around it and not the weld. So it's harder to metal finish, adjust it, whatever. So I always say that whatever you can get the job done to the best of your ability is the one you should be using. If you have the patience to spend years perfecting the skills of TIG welding, it's certainly it's superior for automotive building.
Yeah, and TIG welding is, you can weld, thin sheet metal, or you can do heavy, like not structural, like heavy
you can
building
do
structural, but like chassis fab and all that stuff. I mean, that's what they do roll cages with, is TIG welds. So
yeah,
it's not like it doesn't do heavy stuff well.
Yep. Oh, and somebody asked, his other question was, what brand machine are you using? So I still, even though I do not work for Eastwood, they do sponsor us for product. I do still use all Eastwood MIG welders. In fact, all the welders I have, I lie, I upgraded my MIG welder just because they phased out my old MIG welder. But my TIG welder is the same TIG welder I've had for like 10
Yeah.
years. And I only replaced my previous Eastwood TIG welder because they came out with this digital version that had more features. I don't even think they sell my digital version
No, they've
anymore.
upgraded again.
Yeah, and my old TIG welder I gave to a buddy of mine. I think Jason has
I
it.
think so, yeah.
Our buddy Jason, I gave it to him, and he's still using that TIG welder. So like, their stuff is good, and I think for the money and what the backing that you get for them as far as information on their YouTube channel and the tech support, I think it's a good option. Now, in recent years, a lot of other companies have come to compete with them. They have similar products that are similar price range. That's really your choice. I'm still loyal to Eastwood because they take care of us
Yeah.
and their products. Even as my skills have progressed, the TIG welder, still has plenty of capabilities for
Yeah,
me.
definitely.
So I'm happy with it.
We're probably the best product testers because we use the welders. Use that TIG welder almost every day.
Every day. We joke about it. I feel like it's a weird day when I haven't flipped the TIG welder on and
Yeah.
done some sort of TIG welding.
So for most people, they're going to be doing it on weekends or weeknights. They're definitely they're a more affordable machine, but you don't have to worry about, you don't need a high-end miller to TIG weld occasionally on the weekend. If you want it, that's great, but it's not necessary.
I used to always joke when I did TIG welding demonstrations for Eastwood, like in person and stuff. A lot of times having a Miller welder or Lincoln welder that's high end, guys like to have it so they can lean against it while they're holding their beer and
Yeah.
talk about their cool ass welder that they use that they never turn on or they
Yeah.
use once in a while. It's much like a lot of other things. You have your car that makes 2,000 horsepower and it's cool to talk about at the car show, but you don't really driving the cruise-ins. You don't need 2,000 horsepower. You don't need a $5,000 Lincoln welder that you literally just do some occasional welding once a year. So I think the Eastwoods for the price you can get, you can get some of the same quality
and the same features too.
Yeah. So it's good. So I have, and that's not saying that there's improvements on some of the Eastwood welders that I would like to see, but again, that comes back to, for what I'm doing with the welder, it's not huge things. It's just little things. A ground cable should be longer. Consumables should be a different style so that they last longer. But that's all just little.
And we're using it a lot more than anyone else.
We're more of a professional grade type user.
If you go to Eastwood, use IronTrap or ITG 15 for 10% off.
There you go. There's a little
shameless plug right there.
There you go. Logan Sellers asked, I like this one. This is a good switch up. Where's the best Mexican food at from your adventures?
Ooh, so we covered this before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we did. So Matt and I went on, was it 2021? Went to Colorado. We bought Oldsmobile Speed Collection, and then we drove to Wisconsin, and we went to two different estates. But the last estate, we ended up in Milwaukee, and we bought two Model A pickups, one complete, one and a project.
Yep.
We wrapped that up and then drove we just Googled Mexican restaurants, and you can usually tell on your phone.
I'm pretty good at it these days.
Both of us are. You look at the photos,
Yeah.
you're like, this is where we want to go.
You look at the reviews, and you look at the photos of the interior of the place or the exterior, and so this one, for instance, I look at the comments and actually look at some of the negative ones, and when it's like a Karen or like the Corvette owner with his New Balances on that hasn't left his HOA neighborhood.
He's used to American Mexican, not authentic.
So this place said it had negative comments that said that it was in the back of a Mexican grocery store, and it was saying that they felt unsafe, and it was the menus weren't in English and no one spoke English. And it was just a bunch of the comments were basically like Karens and Johnny Do Good,
Yeah.
you know,
People
New
that are
Balance
used
owner.
to going to Mexican restaurants in nice parts of town. The
Yeah,
best Mexican is usually in the not great parts of town.
I know that we're white people, but they are people that have only ever had white
Yeah.
people taco night. They've
Yeah,
never had
exactly.
anything else, so they like stumbled into this place where I've traveled a lot and I've eaten a lot of food, and you know we're both
Yeah.
fairly well cultured, I would like to think, and we've traveled all over the place, so I'm not as scared because people don't speak my language. So we went there, we parked across the street, we walked in, and they weren't wrong. It was in the back of a like
Authentic Mexican grocery store.
I mean, we're talking like animals in the counter, cut up, you know, butcher type stuff, and all Spanish, Mexican, you know, type groceries. So you know, the drinks, all that kind of stuff. If you ever lived in the city and you went to a bodega,
Yep.
you know, again, we're talking to maybe not people that on our channel that watch are not as well cultured. But if you've ever been to a bodega and you walk in a bodega and there's like the food and the drinks that are not written in English.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever been to that aisle in your grocery store and you're like, I can't read any of this.
Yep.
That was the whole grocery store.
Yeah.
Music that was playing, the people that were there. We walked in, everybody looked because we were not normal. You know, their normal clientele.
Yes.
Walked to the back. And you had to go. I think we even asked. We were like, "Where's the restaurant or the food?" You know, and they're like, "Oh, back there to the left." Went to the back, and it was like a little hole in the wall area with a with the
counter
food.
and some tables, and the kitchen was behind the counter, basically.
Yes, and it was just like some tables in a kind of, like open room.
Yeah.
Very like they took like the back stock room of the grocery store and made a restaurant there. So, again, just like the reviews. The menu was, I think, all in Spanish.
Yeah, thankfully a lot of these places there's numbers usually in front of them. You know, I'll take the number 2 and just they know what you're talking about.
The specials menu again, all in Spanish.
And the lady that took our order,
she spoke English.
Did she? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, they spoke English. Like it wasn't, you know, they spoke English, but obviously like it was in a neighborhood there.
Oh yeah.
All the signs, like we were like if you ever been to Chinatown in New York, like it's. Or Philly, it's like you're in that area where that culture they're living in they're living with their language, the restaurants, everything is their culture. So this was a neighborhood in that area that was all that culture. So the signs were in Spanish, all that stuff. So it was like we were walking into their area, but like we knew the food was going to be good. We ordered it. It was like so good, and we're not talking when we talk about good Mexican food. We're not talking about some.
It's not high culinary.
Yeah,
good.
It's good Mexican food is just good. It's not it's
good
rice
flavors,
and beans,
spice,
and,
and the salsa. The salsa is when you sit down at a Mexican restaurant and if they don't bring you out chips and salsa, that's red flag number 1.
Yep. If they charge you for chips and salsa, you motherfuckers, like I want to leave. Kate took me to a place locally recently that we went in. And it was all the red flags. And I was like, I don't want to eat here. And she insisted because her girlfriends liked it. And I was like, this place is fucking terrible. So we walked in. Number 1, I looked around. There was no booths. Number 1, it was all high top tables.
Ooh.
And there was no children doing their homework or coloring or playing on an iPad.
Or seating you at tables.
Yeah, or seating you at tables anywhere in the restaurant. I'm like, all right, this number 1, this is a red flag. And some like middle-aged 55-year-old white woman seated me. I'm like, this is
Did the tables have tablecloths?
There was definitely not festive tables.
Yeah,
they were high top like bar tables.
Festive colors and tables are like the two like.
It had like a fireplace in it. It was not. And then everyone, I looked around and everyone was like Karens and old dude Corvette New Balance wearing type people like dressed up. I was like, this is not the fucking place. Then those motherfuckers charged us for salsa, chips and salsa. I'm like, this is terrible. This is,
dude,
and
we
the
could
food
talk
was
for
not good.
Hours about
it was
Mexican
not good.
food.
So, anyways, this place was very authentic, very
so good,
down and dirty, but delicious Mexican food. What was the bathroom was?
Oh, there was a full shower stall in the bathroom. We just loaded up 2 like dirty ass Model A's.
Yep.
So we're filthy. I'm sure that also was like that we walked in and we're like covered in dirt head to toe. 2 white dudes in a Mexican grocery store.
But at least we were like working class looking guys. So like
But we walked
nobody
to the
treated us differently. It was just like when we walked in, we obviously didn't live in that
Yeah,
neighborhood.
but you walk in the bathroom and there was an entire like stand-up shower stall in the bathroom. It was like, oh, well, if we need to clean up, we can take a quick shower.
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the best. And then another one we always talk about is Tulsa. When we flew in to do Missouri.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of times when we fly in, we'll take an Uber to whatever hotel we're staying at near the airport. This one we actually flew in kind of early. We got to Tulsa with time to eat dinner.
Yeah.
A lot of times we land at like midnight. So we went to the front desk and we asked them, we're like, what is the best Mexican food? And they gave us some options and we're like, oh, okay. Is there any
But do you remember that place? It was real close to the airport. They had a shuttle bus to anywhere in like a 5-mile radius.
Yeah,
they
take you wherever.
They gave us the list and we're like, this place.
Yeah. So we pull up and the lady's like, it's not in a great part of town. We're like, sweet, sounds good to us.
Yep.
So we roll up and there's bars on all of the windows, like prison bars.
And the dude drops us off and jets. So
he's like,
we had no car and we just like, he dropped us and like, see you guys later. Just call us when you need to be picked up. We're like, okay.
I remember he's a big black dude. He's like, this is not a great part of town. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, whatever.
Whatever, we're fine.
So you walk in and it's like
bars on windows,
counter, you order your food and then you sit at like a cafeteria style table. There's an old dude walking around trying to sell people roses.
Yeah, he had a cowboy hat on.
Yeah.
And again, this is all the signs when you're going to a place like this or a neighborhood like this. If you're not well cultured, we're not getting political or anything like this. A lot of people are not well cultured. So it scares you because it's different. If you go to these types of neighborhoods, a dude selling roses or hustling is normal. So it was just like an old guy with a cowboy hat on, and he was hustling roses. If you were sitting there with your girl, your wife, whatever, they were like trying to sell you a rose. I've been to restaurants in Philly like all the time. That was a normal thing. They stand at the windows like, you want roses? So the guy was selling roses.
Yeah, it was dude.
And again, we were the only white people in the place.
We also showed up like 9 o'clock at night to get dinner. And the only place I've ever had, was it French fries in a burrito?
I mean, they do it in California. They call it a California burrito sometimes, but it was
so good.
It was really good. The way it was executed was very good, and that place was really, really good. That was a fun one. But I mean, those are the two, probably because of the location and also the food.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
We'll definitely start. We did it in the week in the life of, and people thought it was funny. We stopped at a place in, I think it was Indiana.
Yep.
So we'll definitely be doing on the trip we have coming up. We'll start doing the Mexican food reviews more often.
And again, there's not a lot of choices.
Yeah.
I don't eat meat, so for me, I actually can't eat a lot of the stuff. So like, I order one of like 3 or 4 things, but generally, they still can stand out when it's good. So that last place, I got the chili rellenos, and it was banging. They were good.
It was really, really good.
So I love people's enthusiasm for the Mexican food.
Exactly.
That we also share that. So Timothy Crowhurst asks, this is for Matt, Mike, or Steve. Is there a vehicle that has passed on to another owner that you miss having in your garage? So for you, have you ever sold a car that you wish you had back?
I had, like, when I was younger, I had a Subaru. I was into imports for a while. It ended up with a kid that didn't take care of it really well. And then he ended up selling it to someone else. And I had like receipts and paperwork of a bunch of stuff. That guy that bought it contacted me because my number was on it or whatever. So like I found out not great stuff happened to that car and like got destroyed. So it was like, that's the only part that sucked because it was like, man, when I sold it, it was a nice car.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of time and money into it and it just didn't get treated right. So it's really the only one. I'm really bad at finishing projects. So there's multiple cars that I've sold, but they've just been, I never did anything with them, so it didn't hurt. But that Subaru was like, that sucks.
I think we get asked this a lot. And one of the things I always say is usually when I sell a car, I'm ready to break up with it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm over the car, and that's much like why I'm listing some of these cars. I don't find myself excited to drive the car or fix it or improve it. And then it's kind of like time to go. So a lot of my cars I've sold, I'm kind of like, I don't really miss them at all. I'll be like, oh, that was neat. Like the Roadster pickup, super fun. Like I think I miss the Roadster pickup more because of the memories. Like when we built the Roadster pickup, we had 2 Swedish young guys that stayed with us that summer. for quite a while, and like we drove around everywhere in that Roadster pickup with those dudes, and
Yeah.
like I saw like that truck. I saw those dudes like it was like making when you make an impact in someone's life that you know that they will remember for the rest of their life. When I took those dudes in the Roadster pickup for the first time, each of them when we went somewhere,
Yeah.
I saw those dudes just were like, this was like the coolest thing ever to them. They were in a totally different country, riding in a real old school hot rod with an American guy. Like they were living the real.
And at the end of the trip, they both got a driver.
I let them drive it for the last day of their
Yeah.
time staying with us. I let each of them drive it to go get ice cream and whatever. And it was a lot of fun. So like, I think I missed that truck because of like the cool memories I had. But like the truck, I could build another one. It did have some rare parts, but so that one.
The Skelly, from the collection here, Skelly car is the one. That's the first early Ford I ever drove.
Oh yeah, that was that. And I missed that car because of it was just fun to drive. I think I'm. You know what? I know what it is. The meat truck.
Oh yeah.
I missed the meat truck because that was my first early Ford that was like special, unique, because it was like the lettering was freaking amazing.
And it was your first early Ford that was drivable.
Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah, you're right. It was my first flathead powered vehicle that was drivable, and I just love that thing because it was so unique. It was like just had cool lines to it. The lettering was amazing. It was just like so outrageous how cool that thing was. So
I used to get sent photos all the time because he'd take it to like go get groceries or go to Tractor Supply. So like I have friends that live in town here and they'd send me photos, be like, "Do you know this? Look at this cool old truck. You'd be into this." Be like, "Oh, it's like my best friend. He's probably out running errands."
He just drives it all the time. Yeah, we talk about on the podcast all the time. All my old cars, I just drive them like normal cars. So I just run to I used to go to the grocery store with Moon.
Yeah.
And like get groceries, and I would just close the sliding door. Moon would just lay inside the truck and hang out.
Remember when at the end when you're having problems with the coil, someone I know sent me a photo of you broke down a Tractor Supply, and then I called Matt and I was like, "Hey, someone sent me a photo of you with the hood up. Do you need help?"
I was like,
no,
I just gotta let the coil cool down.
Yeah.
It was like 100-degree day, and I was like, I gotta let the coil cool down for half an hour. Then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
forgot
probably
about
the one I
truck.
missed because I sold that because of space, but I also needed it we needed something bigger for swap meeting and stuff.
Yeah.
But now looking back, I kind of would have been cool to keep because it was really useful for like a runaround type thing. But it was the same idea. I got it. I put it on the road. I drove it for quite a while, and it's like the allure was gone. And I tried selling that back to the
Dillsburg Historical Society.
yeah, and they fucked me around and wasted my time like crazy, unfortunately.
And then it sold, and then they were like, "Hey, we'd love to buy that now." It's like too late. It's
Too
gone.
late. You wasted my time for a year and then tried lowballing me. So
Yep.
that didn't work out. So it does live on. The guy who got it rebuilt the flathead and kept it mostly the same. He did some odds and ends I wasn't super happy with, but it's pretty much all the same. So it's still living, and hopefully that thing gets enjoyed and preserved for many years to come.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is Matthew Miller asked, "What is your favorite sign in your collection, Matt?" So he has two questions. Again, that's much like the car question. Some of the signs I have that are like my favorite are more because of the memories involved in finding them. I
And
always
it changes constantly.
yeah, it does. And I always tell people when they come to visit, 99.9% of every single sign I have, I am not a sign guy. I just like neat old shit. I physically found or picked off a wall where we were at a swap meet in the wee morning, and I found it. Like I picked almost every single piece around, and I could count on easily on one hand the number of signs that I actually like sat at an auction and bought or something like that. Everything else was like we found privately. So I don't know. Probably like I would say the shell, the 3D porcelain shell signs I have and the Ford signs are probably some of my favorite because I didn't know I was really getting them, and they kind of were a surprise, and we found them at the 34 state. So like the surprise of I kind of knew those shell signs were there, but when we got there, and we pushed the 3 window out. I've talked about this a bunch. And those Ford porcelain dealer signs were there. That's like the holy grail of sign finds for us early Ford collectors.
Or even just any sign finds. It's
when you find huge dealer signs that nobody knew about.
It's
like,
getting less and less popular to find a sign of that size. Just like, oh, look, there's 6 of them behind that car.
Yeah, those ones are cool because of that. I really like that. I forget the name on it because, again, I remember the memories. That one we found in Georgia at the old junkyard that was like...
Oh, it's Bardall.
We went to this junkyard that had a lot of classic cars, and everybody told us that place is picked through. The guy's hard to deal with. Everybody got all the good stuff. We went there just for fun, and we were digging around one of the trailers, and I found behind a bunch of plywood this old ratty Bardall sign, and I bought that. And even when we walked it up, the owner of the junkyard was like, "Where the hell did you find that?" And I told him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot that stuff was in there." And we ended up buying some good early Ford stuff that he had like hanging in the office wall. It's just that nobody had actually made him a reasonable offer. So that sign was cool just because we found it and nobody knew it was there. It was just a neat one. And the Ford, I actually have 2 from Turlock.
Oh, yeah.
So number 1, I have a Pennsylvania tire sign that's huge that we've told the story. Did
we buy them in the same year?
No, they were 2 different years.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right.
So the PA tire sign, Pennsylvania tire sign, was all the way till the end of the day, and I was afraid to ask how much it was because
I walked past it and didn't even ask.
Yeah, and then finally at the end, the last day, at the end of the day, I was walking like our 30th time walking to swap meet, and I walked up to the dude and was looking at something else. I was like, let me just ask him, what do you want for the sign? It was like $300. I'm like, holy shit, how's no one bought this? So I bought that. Then I have a really ratty Ford. I think it's a parts sign, but it's tractors.
Yeah. Cars, trucks, and tractors.
Yeah, and it's really ratty, but we got that like first thing at Turlock. I think our first time at Turlock.
Yeah, it was the first year,
a guy just had it in the trailer, and I pulled it out. And it was
that's right. You bought it on setup day. That's right.
Yeah, and there was like people, as I pulled it out, there was all these guys standing around us waiting for me to pass on it, and I bought it, again, for like $300, and it was like super, super cool. So, I don't know. I have a ton of signs that are very interesting. Most of them just have a neat story, and that's why I really like it. The sign could be anything interesting, but the story of finding it, much like the cars, they're unique, or finding them is really, really cool. So, yeah, that's that. I could go on for days about that. And he said, number 2, what is your favorite piece of speed equipment that you own? Man, that's a tough one. So... as far as rarity goes, the Marshman superchargers, because I have the only 3 known in existence. So that's...
I also saw someone is making...
So there's a guy in England, a bunch of people have DM'd us. There's a ridiculously talented dude in England that is casting, machining, and making and using his own speed equipment. He made a knockoff, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. I'm not trying to... I have to always preface this stuff so people don't get their panties in a knot.
It's a reproduction is a better way
to
say it.
He basically must have taken photos that we posted of the Marshman, modeled it himself in like a 3D modeling program or something, and he cast his own version. He actually has it on a car running. He's putting his own like name or speed equipment company on it. And... I can't be mad about it. I guess I would say selfishly I'm disappointed because he like copied it, but then in the same breath, it's like somebody copying the Frenzel or any of those other ones. It's bound to happen. I'm not mad about it. A bunch of people have sent us DMs about it, but it's like the
coolest one I saw is he has it modified to run on a banger.
Yeah. So super cool. I mean, the guy's ridiculously talented. He's way more talented than I. To have the ability to design, cast, machine,
reverse engineer it.
Reverse engineer all that stuff and make it working on a car. Super cool. I've had them for how long, and I haven't gotten around to doing anything with them. So it's much respect to him for doing that. I'm just selfishly disappointed because it's similar to what I have, but it's the same as having the original Mona Lisa. You have the original. There could be as many prints and copies, but like, that you should just look at that.
Would you say you like the Marshman more than your Ardent Heads? Because since the Ardent Heads have that history behind them.
I think the Ardent Heads probably are more. I like them more because of I found them, and it kind of was our big jump start. That was my first time getting insanely rare stuff, and that still was probably my craziest amount of rare stuff in one
Yeah,
purchase.
it's the best auction ever.
Yeah, ever that I've done. So like, I think that one probably, you're right. That's probably my favorite because of all that, but it's also my favorite because of the journey of finding it, getting the parts, getting it actually put back together. I was able to meet Ron and Laura through that and a number of other people and become good, very friendly with them. In fact, I called Ron with a flathead question literally before this podcast.
Yeah.
And you know what? The fucking guy answered his phone as it was ringing.
But please don't do that if you don't know Ron.
If you don't know Ron, don't do that. But like, he's super friendly. But
yes.
As much as we could say about a bunch of these people that are older and gurus, that's another good example. I had a stupid question. He answered the phone. He answered it and was good. So because of all the people and the stuff along the way, the block that the Arden engine is using, my late friend Carl, who I used to, in our early days of our channel, I used to go to Carl's and help sell stuff. That was a block out of Carl's garage.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I feel like a piece of Carl. Like, he had a really good engine that was all rebuilt that he pulled out of a 46.8 Ford that his friend was putting a small block in. And when I pulled it apart, it was like, I actually felt bad.
I remember that when you pulled it apart.
I was like, this is an engine and we should have just put in a car. It was so nice. But I wanted the best block I could get. So like a piece of my old friend Carl, like, I hope that he's looking down to like that. I even told him when I got the block, that's why he gave it to me, because I got the Arden heads shortly before he passed away. And very close to when he passed away, he gave me that engine, because I told him, Carl, I need a really good 59 AB block to build a Arden. And he was like, I have this one if you're going to use it for that engine. So like all that stuff, we're echoing the same thing. All of this stuff is more because of the stories and everything involved in it. So that not only is it rare, but all that other stuff that goes around it is what makes them so special.
The cars, the signs, the speed parts. There's always a story behind all of it.
Yeah, it's the story. It's the connection with friends that are living and non-living and all that stuff. Like all that stuff, all means so much to me. And that's where you'll see the stuff that's not for sale. A lot of it is that stuff that has a connection for that reason, and no money would ever. If somebody came in and offered me $1 million for that car, I don't think I would sell it, because I couldn't replace the memories and all that stuff. Sure, with that $1 million, I could go buy another Arden or a car already done, but it's not the one that I found and took it through that journey. So
definitely.
That's the answer. Mark Fehrenbach, I apologize if I mess anybody's last name up.
They're all wrong.
Yeah. This is one for Steve, so I might save. Oh, these are two for Steve, so we got to save those.
We'll have Steve jump in here in a minute.
So I'm going to save that one. Dave Fish, what made Matt start a business, quote unquote, and what was the hardest part? Thanks, guys, for making awesome videos. I think I've talked about it. I've been an entrepreneur, and I hate saying this because I feel so fucking lame, because entrepreneur is a cool thing now. It's like hip, So
he's been a maniac his entire life.
I've been an entrepreneur since I almost birthed. So like, I know Gary Vee and all that stuff is super cool, super influenced by his stuff. It has been very influential in progressing our business over the years. But like, literally, I have a similar type of story as him as far as that goes. I was wheeling and dealing baseball cards with my father, where my father used to take me since I was a small child. I used to collect vintage baseball, football, and basketball cards. And my father used to take me. There used to be sports card shows at fire halls, and he used to take me around. And with my little Beckett book that gives you all the prices, I would go and wheel and deal and buy and sell. And I'd buy packs and open them up. And now, like on TikTok and stuff, people are doing sports card openings live, and like that's become cool. Like that's what I did when I was a kid, and I used to do that. And then I used to wheel and deal like bicycle parts. I used to get candy in bulk, and I would sell it at school out of my locker. And recess, I would buy a box of candy for one price, and then I would sell it in high school and junior high for more money, because you weren't allowed to like have candy
Yeah.
at study hall. So I would be like dealing candy outside, you know. So like I sold marijuana when I was very, very young for a little while and got busted by my dad and got my ass beat. Like
Yeah.
I've been wheeling and dealing and making money and doing stuff for like a really long time, and that just always progressed into, you know, what we do now. So like literally it's been with me forever. So I've always been like business minded as far as like the buying and selling and entrepreneur type stuff my whole life. It took me a very long time to get more focused on it to turn it into a proper business. I don't even feel like we're still a proper business. I just feel like we shoot from the hip a lot.
Yeah.
But that's also what keeps it fun, because we make enough money to pay our bills, have fun. But you'll notice that we haven't added 37 employees and made it super, you know, corporate.
Yeah.
We haven't sold out our brand, you know, that's a big part of it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much.
The biggest jumping point was Pittsburgh. That was like the turning point of it actually becoming a parts business.
Yeah, I bought that stuff because it was so much quantity. I knew that I was going to need to get more serious. No, I would say the caddy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I bought all that caddy stuff that you helped me with.
Yeah.
And I had no interest in any of it. And it was strictly a business transaction. I was buying it in bulk because I wanted to get. But when I started doing auctions and buying and selling, and I kind of created the actual like business where I was paying taxes, that's when it got serious. I was buying in bulk. I was buying things that I had no interest in owning, and I was just buying them strictly to make money on. And that's where it went from a hobby to more of a, you know, it was paying the bills type thing.
But the Pittsburgh estate is what made us all quit our jobs.
For IronTrap, that was the one that like, it was like, okay, well, we could just keep compounding this, and it, you know, went from there.
And it has compounded tenfold.
Yeah. Carl Seaver asks on YouTube. He has a few questions. I have been watching the YouTube videos for a while. May have missed some early stuff. Older videos have vehicles in the background, like the meat truck, early 50s Chevy mild custom, and a Roadster with 4 headlights. Would you take us through all the vehicles you've had there at the shop and their details? I can't possibly go through all the vehicles because we've had a lot.
Meat truck we just covered.
Yeah,
so that was easy.
Covered that. We had, when I first moved in, I had a Wagchero, we called it. So I bought it at auction. Mike went and helped me pick it up.
That was actually, I think that was the first car that you put in this building.
I think it was. So I bought this really, and actually I wish I would have put it on the road. I bought this at an auction for really cheap. It was like $500 or $800. It was
I think that was the first car I ever helped you pick up from an estate.
Yeah, it was a 57, I think. 56-7 Ranchero that was built out of a wagon.
Yeah.
Somebody took the rear hatch window of a wagon and they welded it actually quite nicely into the front half and made it was like a customized Ranchero. So it had like, they had a big grill opening where they were going to put like the round chrome like dresser knobs. I think it had a hood scoop from a T-Bird that was welded in the hood, and it had an FE big block engine in it, and a bunch of other stuff. Like it looked like at some point it was driving. It was pretty badass. And really, I bought it to make some money on it. I moved into the house, and I got quickly overwhelmed with work and also money, and I sold it on eBay for. I didn't make a lot of money, maybe $1,500 or something, and I dropped it off to the guy. He got it running like the next day or the same day. And then we saw it at Carlisle. Maybe you didn't know this. I saw it like the next year at Carlisle.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
And the guy had actually hit me back up and asked if I wanted it back. He bought it when he was drunk. Literally, when I went to pick it up, the guy told me that he was drinking whiskey or something. He's like, I was a little tipsy last night when I bought that thing the other night. He's like, or I think he might even called me because he was actually pissed off because it didn't have a title, and I had in the listing like big letters like there is no title. And he was like, man, there's no title for sale. I'm like, it was in the list. He's like, well, I was drinking whiskey last night. I was kind of, you know, whatever. So anyways, it was for sale at Carlisle for like way more money. I don't know whatever happened.
That's funny.
But yeah, there was a bunch of stuff. My 50 Chevy, I had mild custom. That was a garage find locally. Got on the road, drove it for a while. I ended up selling that to a guy in England that I've done a lot of business with. And it needed an engine, and we actually put an engine in it. My buddy Justin helped us do that to get it running so that it would go on the transporter. and then it went overseas to England. I think it's been resold in England 2 or 3 times. It is still
Yeah.
around. Somebody sent last summer me a photo of it at like a show or a cruise in.
Someone was at Hershey. That,
Oh, yeah.
Or no, that was that was the 40 that we sold that went over there.
Oh yeah, right.
But we have these customers that come up. They're like, my friend bought this car that you sold to someone that went to England,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I bought, then he bought, and it's cool that some of these cars are still like
Yeah, they're
they've been
like-
changed hands multiple times, but they're still out there.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that you saw in the early videos. That Dodge truck that I started building at Eastwood, that thing I just changed my tastes, and I was kind of stuck on it, and that was one of those ones I didn't know what to do with it. And a local guy showed up with, insisted on buying the whole thing. I wanted to part it out. And I half-heartedly sold it to him, knowing that he did not have the ability or skills to finish it, but he knew better than I did, and he had more money
crisp
than
$100
brains.
bills.
More money than brains. And he bought the thing. Then it sat in his garage or his driveway, and he bitched to me that it needed way more work than he thought, even though I told him that everything was just tack welded together
Yep.
for videos. And then he proceeded to sell it. I think the next dude put a Cummins in it, and then I lost track of it. So it was a bummer. The only thing I will say, I was psyched. I did not sell the bomber bench seat out of it, and it actually lives on my porch, and that's where I sit and drink coffee
Yep.
in the summer. And that was like that one piece that I was really happy to keep, because that was like the first thing when I started to figure out metal fab and I started to feel confident. I built that bomber seat out of the original frame, and then I built that whole bed from scratch. And that was the turning point for metal fab for me, where I started getting proficient, I felt like, at sheet metal fab.
Yeah.
And I kept that bench seat, and I'm really happy about that, because
I remember watching the progress on that bedside because I worked near Eastwood, so Matt, it was usually Fridays, right? That you worked in the shop, the studio. I would actually stop in on my way home from work, and I just like walk through to the store, and just there was a door that opened up into Matt's like workspace. It's now part of the store.
Yep.
But I would just like walk through and be like, going to see Matt, and just like walk through like I own the place. Walk in, and Matt, I remember watching you make the bedsides, like the progress over a couple weeks. Stop in and see all of it. I was like, dude, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, and I was really excited that, that's when I started. The bug was biting me for the customization and the metal fabrication, and that was that period when I was really just figuring out what I liked. I bought that Dodge truck just because I found it at a local hoarder's estate, and it was cheap. I just wanted a 50s. I wanted a 50s American pickup to build.
Yeah.
And that was the first one I found. Nowadays, I probably wouldn't have picked that one because they were probably like one of the bastard childs. But I built it, and then I lost interest and sold. So that's the majority of them.
There's always, from the start of the channel, there's always a constant
Flow, yeah.
of cars in the background that Matt bought and sold. And, watch any of the old videos. None of the cars really that are in the background are around anymore. Minus Pagoda City Coupe, Free T, and the Sweetheart Roadster.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Everything else is kind of come and gone, and that's it. So, number 2, what's up with the Barbie on the desk? That is not Barbie. That is actually a new old stock.
The box? Where's the box at?
It's in it's in the other room.
Oh, is it?
I have it on the shelf up there, but it's actually a 1960s era drink mixer. So it actually, you put batteries in, you hit the button, it has a little thing, and the girl shakes her hips, and it mixes your drink up. So it's kind of a novelty gag
What
gift.
state were we at? Did that come
That
from?
was in that Wisconsin one.
Oh, that's
we
right.
went in the dude's like kind of run down house, and we were digging through his house, and it was in with the car parts. I'm like, this is cool, and it was new old stock. He probably got it as like a gag Christmas gift and just had it in there. And I was like, I'll buy this. I forget what I paid, $50 or something, but it was just super cool. We've been talking about getting a little shot glass or something to stick in it, but that's what she is. She's just a neat, funny old thing. Again, it has really no value, but we have the fun story of finding it, and that's what a lot of this stuff is around. It's memories.
I forgot about that.
Number 3, right now your crew seems to be Steve and Mike, who worked there before them. That's pretty much it.
Paid help, yes.
Paid help. I had in the early days, we had Andrew,
Yep.
who started out here when he was like 13 or 14, and helped and was kind of learning up until he was 16, and then he moved on with life. He's now a machinist.
Yeah.
We saw him at one of the shows last summer. He's doing well. Just normal kid stuff, getting in trouble, 16 through 21. That's kind of what happens. But he is now through. What was really cool is he went to see me at Wheels of Time. He kind of apologized for being a shithead kid, which I wasn't mad at him. Anyways, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But he was also like thanked me for a lot of the stuff that I taught him when he was younger. He's like, I still every day use that as a machinist. Some of the like little things I gave him and tips and whatever. And he's now working at a machine shop. But he got that experience from being in my shop, seeing me use my little, benchtop mill and lathe and all that stuff. That was the first things, and that was really cool. And I've had our friend Matt Rad, we send stuff to get welded to now. I taught Matt Rad how to weld and TIG weld, and he is a phenomenal professional welder, way better than I am. So like Andrew's a much better machinist than I am because they went that path and focused, and it's super cool. So, but yeah, we haven't really we had volunteers,
and some helpers. Like we have a young kid that works for us part time, Ryan, that helps in the summer and after school, and we had Luke before him, and we had another friend Ryan before him. They're just like part time paid help here and there for the parts business, but otherwise it's just been the three of us, the only like full time employees.
And I've been hesitant to. We've had a lot of people offer to help, but like I alluded to earlier, I don't want some huge business with 50 employees. I am more looking for. I'm not saying that we wouldn't hire more people. I am looking for a good fit.
Yeah.
When Mike came, or not when Mike, when Steve came along, and like Mike was, and I were really good friends, so it was like obvious fits. So, if someone came into our lives or came around and was like, I'm very old school like that. If somebody kind of like Steve came around and was hanging around, you have to show me interest. You're not just going to show up at our door and I give you a job the first day. Like, if some person seems like a good fit, I'd much rather hire a friend, wait it out and hire a friend that we know is going to be 100% the right fit than just hire any warm body that comes in. We get by fine with what we have. Sure, we could grow the business with some additional employees, but I don't want to be, in the end of the day, I don't want to be sitting here in the office just being a boss or a manager. I want to be building cars and having fun. So that's why you won't see us doing that. But yeah, there hasn't really been other people because we haven't had a need to, and so that is what it is. When I'll just answer this one. When will Steve get an ITG style car, and what would he like it to be? Steve talked about in his podcast he has no interest in having.
He gets his fix by being here, basically.
He gets his fix by being here. He also has mentioned before he's out of garage space. He has 2 classic cars. He has a 2-car garage. Those are both taken up, and his wife said if you want another car, you need to get rid of one. So both of his are keepers, so he has no need. Steve's allowed to drive these cars. He drives them around. Sometimes when we go to events, he will drive one of the cars. So it's not like I don't understand why people don't understand that. Like, people seem to think that I ought to give Steve a car or we should build a car for Steve. If Steve found a car, we've sometimes had estates where there was opportunities that he potentially wanted to buy, like a vintage Cadillac or something, and him and his wife talked about it. So the opportunity is there. There just hasn't been anything that's caught his interest. But if there was, we would certainly, just like Mike's situation, if we found something, I would just be like, go ahead, Steve. Like, whatever deal you want to work out, a wholesale price, great. But he doesn't have interest. So another one from the same person. Would you show some images of when you moved to the current shop and tell us when that happened? So
you kind of covered that.
We've showed that in other videos. 2016, we moved into the shop. We've had some photos that we've posted before. I don't know if you'll be able to
I could drop some in.
Drop some in of basically imagine the downstairs just empty.
Empty with 3 light bulbs.
And that was it. So thank you for that. The taillight show. Question for episode 50, guys. Matt, what did you think of the hot rod scene here in Australia when you visited? And is there any plans to return someday? So Australia was amazing. It was a kind of like a bucket list thing to go to Australia for my whole life. I have one really good friend from Australia that I'm still in touch with. That he lives now in the States. But anyways, I've been wanting to go over for a long time. I've had some friends. Kate and I were able to go over. It was really, really great. The Australian Street Rod Nationals. They had us come over. It was amazing. Thank you to Pete for bringing us over. He's a legend over there, and he brought us over for that. The scene was awesome. Now, I don't want to speak on the scene as a whole because I only went to one show, and it was like a street rod show. So, mind you, that's like kind of like going to a good guy show here. Like it's a little bit of everything. So much like going to a good guy show, there was a lot of stuff that was not my taste. There was a little bit of stuff that I really dug, and there was stuff that I just wasn't into. So, what I like about most Australian shows that I've seen, it seems to be that most of the shows I've seen from afar, and this event as well, is they are more of like a party, hangout, weekend type deal. So like everybody comes, brings their cars, hangs out, parties, and just has a good time. And I feel like Australia as a whole is more of like that.
Oh,
that
100%.
vibe. Like where we have a lot more of like the cruise-in scene where you just go for an hour or two and then you go home and that's it. Where like more of their events, all of their events, a lot of them, I should say, seem to be like that. So I really dug that. It was like we went to the show and like the nights after the show or leading up to the actual show, everybody's in this camping area, hanging out, partying, just having a good time. And it was like, I thought that was super cool about it. People drive really far in Australia, it seems like, because a lot of the stuff, there's not as many shows or concentration of people that are into the stuff. We're spoiled here where like we sometimes don't drive our cars as far because we don't need to. I can go a half an hour from here. I could go to a car event every night almost in the summer or every weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't need to drive 5 hours to get to an event. And sometimes we get lazy. You know, it is what it is. So I really appreciated that. And I really dug how passionate people were about building with their hands and building their own stuff. I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like in Australia, more guys I talked to, almost every single guy I talked to or gal, they actually built their own car. I felt there was a lot less of people I met there just randomly that weren't building their own cars themselves.
Yeah.
Like didn't seem to be as much of guy, and I think it's because of in Australia, if you're building an American type hot rodder car, there isn't as much stuff. It's not as prevalent. So you need to work with what you have. You need to machine your own parts. You need to modify. You need to repair. So I really dug that. That was my kind of people. So meeting all those people was really cool. And guys just talking about, showing me photos of their projects, and they're starting with these like nothing, and they're building these cars. So I really could, and also their safety standards are much higher there. So because of that, you have to build your cars to a higher level to be able to legally drive them on the road. So I dug that. So I don't know. Australia's just like, everybody's so laid back and cool, man. Like a lot of that, I just love the vibe of a lot of people I met that were just down to shoot the shit. It just seemed cool. And I'm sure if you live there and you're in the scene, every scene, there's going to be people, there's people that are cocky or standoffish or whatever. I didn't get a lot of that. So I had a very pleasant experience. I would love to go back. The flight sucks. It's terrible.
I would love to go, but I do not really want to fly on a plane for that long.
It wasn't fun, but I think I would love to go again. Kate and I, stupidly, and it's my fault, kind of, we packed too much into the trip. Kate and I, we flew all the way as far north as we could on the coast. Which
is hilarious because we met a gentleman at Grand National last year. And Matt was like, I flew all the way up to so-and-so. And our friend Des was like, I've never been there.
Yeah, I lived there my whole life. A bunch of people were like, I've never been there. So we flew all the way north and went down and went as far as just south of Sydney. So it was a lot of driving. Kate and I packed way too much in the trip. And there was a lot of stuff that we just like literally stopped for an hour, had lunch, and then kept moving. So if I go back, I would like to spend some more time in those areas. Oddly enough, Nick Dart that does has done our designs, has become a friend. When we went over there, Kate and I stayed with Nick and Nadia where they live on the, I think they're Sunshine Coast, I believe. I always mix Gold Coast and Sunshine. I think they were Sunshine Coast. And we stayed with them and had probably just about the most fun of this trip, just staying with them and doing normal people stuff because they just took us around. We drove with his buddy Josh. He took us in a 32.5 window and his stuff, and we drove around. It was just like a good time. So they're actually coming over in May, Nick and Nadia, and they're staying with us again for like a week or so. And we're taking them to the Brimfield Antique Market. We're taking them to like some hot rod shows, flea markets, and doing the same thing, like actual real culture. Like they took us to like a super old pub that was like in the middle of nowhere. And then we didn't go to like all the hip places. We did some of that stuff. So we're doing the same for them. So like it's really fun to return the favor to friends from overseas when they come. So.
I'm excited to meet Nick. I've never met him. Because last time he was here, I think I was on vacation with my family. I've never actually met him in person. So I'm excited to actually shake his hand.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So yes, I short of it is I'd love to go back. I hope to go back. Scheduling is the hardest part. For me to get, you really need, if you're going to Australia, you really, because the flight's so long, you really need to spend like multiple weeks or a whole month there. Yeah. And it's hard for me to break away. Even when we did that, it was like
we filmed a video a day for like 3 weeks.
It was a crazy feat for me to be able to walk away for that long, not filming videos, having enough videos out, me letting the reins loose because I slightly micromanage things, to walk away and just be like, all right, you guys have it. And then of course with the pet thing, having somebody to watch the pets and all that. So it's hard, but I definitely want to do it. So
I won't be able to go unless I take my wife. She's like, you can't go with Matt unless you bring me too. So.
And then you have to bring the kids of.
No way. Can you imagine those kids on a 16-hour flight?
So Brian Schultz, this is kind of a random one. I left it in just because it's funny. Have y'all partied with Bam Margera or his friends? I thought that was a funny one because we're not famous people. But I figured I'd leave it in.
You probably ran in that.
I ran in that circle. So Bam, before he was famous on TV, was a pretty, was a pro skateboarder, I guess you could say. And
he's from like 45 minutes from here.
He's from Westchester area. Yeah. So all that crowd, I rode BMX and skateboarded. I used to see Bam all the time there was a skate park called Cheap Skates. So if you're from this area, you might remember it. There, and there was one other one that him and some of his buddies used to frequent. So I used to see him there all the time. And when that like whole thing kind of started, before the MTV thing, it was like he was gaining popularity and started like, we used to see him around. The one guy, Ryan Dunn, that passed away, he actually used to be a BMXer. And Little Devil was a huge clothing brand back then, and still is. We ran in the same circle and hung out with some of those guys, rode at the same trails and skate parks. So, like, I used to see a lot of those guys around. I wasn't friends with them. We didn't party with them. I mean, I've always been like I was like from the punk rock where I was a straight edge kid. I still don't drink or do drugs or any of that stuff. So, like, I didn't really hang in that crowd of the crazy party scene. But I used to see those guys around and out all the time. But like, you have to realize that like the BMX and skateboarding world and surfing world is, even the biggest pros are still like kind of real people. So like when I used to see the biggest pros at skate parks, they were very approachable. You just walk up and hang out with. I feel like hot rodding's the same way. Like
100%.
The biggest names in hot rodding, most of them are just normal people. You walk up to them, and if you're not an idiot and you just talk to them and respect their time, they're going to be cool. And they'll leave you, so that's how it always felt. So, yeah, I would see those guys around. Yeah. But Mike has to step out. We have somebody coming to look at a car. And we're cutting some of these questions down. There was more, but these are the ones I picked out. So somebody said, although Matt does not think they are cool, those of us with kids and now grandkids would need to gravitate towards a four-door or Phaeton. I see quite a few of them nicely done. Just like your thoughts on this. I think they're cool. I don't have a problem with those cars. I just, for me personally, don't have a ton of interest. I think certain four-doors are cooler than others. So a 32 to 34 four-door is pretty cool. If I had the right one, I wouldn't turn it down. But we've had four-doors over the years. I don't have a problem with them. I think whatever fits your needs is best. And they're certainly cool. It's just, we have a joke that's TMFD, too many fucking doors. So we say that because with the value, a lot of times when we deal with estates, people call us and say, I have a 40 Ford and blah, blah, blah. And they tell us all about it. Then they tell us it's a four-door. It's like, well, that the value isn't there because it's too many doors. So I think they're good. They can be done. Very, very cool. Nothing wrong with them whatsoever. Wire wheels. This seems to be one of the first things removed from any new acquisition that arrives at IronTrap. However, you left them on the ruined green Roadster and they look good. If you still wanted the big and little look, I know Coker sells various sizes. I like your thoughts on wire wheels. So, no problem with wire wheels. Pagoda City Coupe actually has wire wheels with Lions style covers over them. The ruined Roadster. We had wire wheels on Beautiful. Had wire wheels on it. So I think sometimes people forget we go through a lot of cars. So I've had a handful of cars with wire wheels. No problem. I think if you're doing a certain style car, wire wheels certainly have their place and they look cool. I think the preference is with the 40 style wheels, you could change the look a lot easier because you can run a lot more different hubcaps and it changes the look of it. So sometimes I gravitate towards them, and that's probably why. But wire wheels, we've used them a ton on different cars. Yeah, so that's it for that, and we'll wait for Steve. So Steve came up to the shop. We twisted his arm. Oh, here.
Yeah, gotta figure out how to do this.
Just stand, just anywhere. You can turn it a little bit.
All right, good. How
away
about
from
that?
me. Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
So we have, there's only 2 or 3 questions actually.
That's good.
So, all right. Is there a vehicle that has passed on to another owner that you miss having in your garage, or something that you owned years ago?
Not really.
No.
Not really. Well, I when I'm done with the car, I've broken up with it.
That's what I said
I never
too.
had to get rid of a car because I couldn't keep it for some reason. So I've broken up with it.
Okay.
Everything.
There wasn't a car that maybe you could have had, or you just wasn't the right time. You know what I mean? Like I have cars that I just sold because I needed the money, or I could have, I had the chance to buy a relative's car and he didn't have the money or something. Was there anything like that?
There was one that got away that still bugs me to this day. That's 30 some years later. It was a 70 Camaro, 427 4-speed.
Is that a split bumper? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I think it was. It was a 70 though. 427 4-speed that used to race down at Atco in one of the street classes.
Oh wow.
And it had the stickers all over the windows. I mean, this was a legit car.
Wow.
It was legit, and I just couldn't justify it in my head, but it was a legitimate 427 4-speed Camaro. I didn't even know they put 427s in Camaros in 1970.
It was just, if you had a crystal ball, you would have known to buy it.
Yeah.
You've been sitting pretty now.
Yeah, that's the one that got away.
Okay, but I had a similar answer. Most of the time when I sell something, I've already mentally, I'm like over it, and I don't really.
Yeah,
I've had cars that I was bummed because I saw what happened to it years later, like 3 owners down the line. Like, man, that thing does not look good.
Right. Yeah.
Like, like seeing an old girlfriend from high school, and you're like, ooh, she did not age well.
Right. Yeah.
You're like, so it's like you feel bad. They really let themselves go.
Yep.
And then we had, this is a good one. What's your favorite cigar? Somebody asked.
My favorite cigar is Padron.
Okay. I'm gonna act like I know what I'm talking about. Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you gave me a huge raise, I could afford to smoke them every day, but that's like a once in a while.
What do they cost? What's a huge raise?
Well,
what would it cost you a day for that habit if you smoked one a day?
Just a regular Patron is probably, I haven't looked at one since all the prices went crazy, but it's got to be at least $20 for one of the. I smoke big cigars, so they're always more expensive.
So I'd have to give you $20 more a day.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
Well, I don't. Some days I smoke more than one.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that part. All right, so we'll have to get the computing. I'll get Moon in here and run in the numbers.
Yeah,
and see.
Yeah. If I could afford to smoke nothing but Padrones, that's what I would smoke.
Holy moly! And what's the flathead one you smoke? Is that just like the go-to?
Yeah, they keep it in stock at my local smoke shop. So I stop in every morning and pick one up. And Yeah.
What about the So that's your go-to. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
your daily driver.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yep, the daily.
How about the ones that Brian gave you last week? Was there anything that was like I didn't? Was there anything
Yeah,
extraordinary?
there was a couple of real good ones there, and he gave me one. The numbers escape me now, but I think he said it was $100 cigar.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and it was really really good.
Oh,
It
all
was
right.
really
Did you already
good.
burn through them?
No, I still have some
Oh.
left. No, I didn't burn through. I have a couple of them left.
It was like a month's supply, and in like the weekend you went through them.
They were short, you know. They don't last long.
Oh, all right, gotcha. That's fine. So
Yeah.
that one was real good.
Yeah,
so.
it was some kind of Davidoff, and it was like, wow, that's a really really good cigar.
So that would be like the epic. So you need so what you're saying is you need $100 a day raise. Holy moly!
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
See
I
what
want
you
to smoke one of those every day.
Jeez, Brian created a monster. Holy moly.
Yep.
And then we got this question a couple of times that I figured I'd let you answer it. When will Steve get a cool IronTrap car or a style car? I kind of answered it earlier because I know
Yeah.
you. I hear you tell everybody to come here and ask the same question.
Yeah, for me, owning the car, working on the car and building the car is the part that I really enjoy. Owning the car, it's fine. I mean, in my entire life I've had to own the cars that I've worked on and built and all this stuff. But now I get a chance to come here and work on this stuff all day long, and I'm totally satisfied with that.
And we talked about. I briefly answered it earlier. Like, you do get the drive that, like, when we go to events or
Yeah.
and I've even offered like, hey, if you want to take this thing home to put some miles on it. So like,
Yeah, yeah.
you have all
absolutely.
the opportunities. It's kind of like all the upsides. Like you get somebody else pays for it and you get to work on it, you get to drive it.
Exactly.
And but you don't have to deal with all the headaches. Well, I mean, you have to deal with them, but like, it's not just your headache.
Yeah. I just toss the keys back to Matt and say, "Yep, needs gas. Thanks."
Yeah, I gotta go. It's broken.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, broken.
It's broken. So that was the other big one. So one other one I saw was, what was your favorite adventure or memory since you've been here full time for you? Mike and I talked about some of our stuff previously. What was, like, whether you went on an adventure or an experience, I should say, since you've been in the IronTrap world?
I gotta say, the one experience I'll never forget is pulling off to the side of the road in West Virginia, walking down a driveway that is completely overgrown with bamboo to this building out in the back you can't even see, and opening the door and it's 100 feet of sheet metal. That is something I will never forget. That West Virginia.
Yep,
thing.
and we
was
just covered that in
amazing.
the podcast, and we kind of talked about how it was like you had the response most people have. You were so overwhelmed. You're like, every little thing. You're like, what about this?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I still get like that. I'm like, I start focusing too much on things instead of just being able to keep moving.
Yeah. So that one that's up there for us too. That probably was the biggest kind of surreal, one of the most surreal moments for us.
Yeah, the
as well.
setting, the amount, everything about it was just a mind melt.
It was like out of a movie. You're like, what the heck?
Exactly, yeah.
So cool. Well, and what was your favorite? That was the other one I forgot that was on there. What was your favorite? What is or has been your favorite car out of all the ones that we've done or been involved in since you've been here? Like, what's your favorite?
Oh, that's tough. I'd say it's probably mostly a tie.
Okay.
The 38 and the Schroll 32.
Really?
Yeah.
I knew the Schroll. I knew
Yeah.
that one. You've always said that was
I
like
love that car, yeah. But there's something about that 38, I think,
really.
that it just, that I really enjoy. I really like the look of that car.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't. And all right, so now I know I definitely shouldn't have sold. I shouldn't sell it. Luckily, I haven't. I put a high price on it because I didn't really want to sell it anyways. But
Right.
now that we know that it's one of Steve's favorites, we do got to keep it around and get it going. I mean, the cool thing with that is it's with the Caddy engine and the whole setup. It's it's a driver.
Right, and it's a survivor car, which I love. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know, it was built in a different time, in a different place. And
Yeah.
it's got history. It's got character.
Yeah. Although I do want to paint that thing, but
It
eventually.
would be nice with that. Yeah, that blue again.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that
Yeah.
one. I knew the Stroll car because you've always said that was like
Yeah,
one of
I
them.
got to say that is my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
that
the
one.
38's a close second, but yeah, the Schroll will always be my favorite. I think.
Yeah, that you saw the whole transformation. That was one of the first ones you saw the
That
full.
was the first one
Oh.
where I watched you fix the frame, and we pulled the parts out of the trailer, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was the first one that I was involved from beginning to end.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why. Awesome. Well, thank you, Steve, for your brief answering of questions here.
Anytime.
Thank you guys for listening to the podcast. And if you have any future ideas, just give us a shout. Mike's down, hopefully selling a Model A Roadster right now.
Yay, Mike.
Thanks,
go.
guys. Catch you later.
See ya.